the Legendary Pokemaster, and here we are talking about Necrozma. Necrozma is a legendary Pokemon that got quite a lot of stuff in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and it may have gotten a little bit overpowered in some people's opinions, so I'm going to investigate that today. With that said, without further ado, let's start. So before we actually start looking at Necrozma in terms of numbers, we should look at what changes were made to it with the release of Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. A lot of stuff. It got 3 new forms, each of which have a lot of stat changes, and much more power as the Pokédex entries imply. We've got that it absorbed the power from other legendary Pokemon and combined it with its own, and with this one, what I could assume is cancerous waves radiating from his body. In Sun and Moon, the original form of Necrozma most likely was not overpowered. Sure, it had the extremely powerful prismatic laser, but the stats were still well behind other legendary Pokemon, and nowhere near the level of something like Arceus, Mega Mewtwo, or Mega Rayquaza. But now we have Dusk Mane and Dawn Wings, and this thing, which I'll get to in a minute because I cannot speak its name. So let's see what these new forms have got. When we look at the stats for the first 2 forms based on Solgaleo and Lunala, you can see that lump in stats towards the middle there, but in different places. With Dusk Mane, there's more of a specialty in physical attack, aka attack and defense. For Dawn Wings, the same is true for special attack and special defense. With these basically being direct additions to the stats of the original forms, they're undoubtedly stronger, being boosted from a base stat total of 600 to 680, which is about on par with things like regular Rayquaza, Palkia, Dialga, and Giratina, and basically all those other things that can manipulate things like Greek gods. Then there's typing. Necrozma regular form is just a Psychic type, but Dusk Mane and Dawn Wings are Psychic and Steel and Psychic and Ghost, respectively. This gives Dusk Mane a ton of resistances at the cost of only 1 immunity, as well as 4 weaknesses. Dawn Wings plays it safer, having only 2 weaknesses and having 1 more immunity than Dusk Mane. The trade-off, however, is only 2 resistances. This leaves Dusk Mane catering to more of a defensive playstyle as opposed to Dawn Wings' more offensive playstyle. Otherwise, the Pokemon are pretty similar actually, sharing the same moves, seeing that they're just different interchangeable forms. Seeing that each of the typings have trade-offs to balance them, and that the stats are still equal and in some cases lesser than other legendary Pokemon, these 2 forms of Necrozma are probably not overpowered even despite the prismatic laser. But let's face it here, you probably came for this guy. Ultra form Necrozma is the most powerful form of Necrozma. Its stats are immense, and when put in perspective with Dawn Wings and Dusk Mane forms, well, forget about it. Here we have something with 754 as its base stat total, which is only outdone by 2 other Pokemon, the Mega Mewtwo's and Mega Rayquaza. But Austin, if there are Pokemon with higher base stat totals, then why would Necrozma be overpowered? Well, you gotta keep in mind here. Both of those Pokemon are Megas, the evolutions that everyone seems to have forgotten about by now. Sure, people still use them every now and then, but the upfront accessibility of Megas isn't there when compared to Generation 6. While you still can get a Mega Bracelet, it's much harder than it was in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, as well as X and Y, and that encourages people to move to Z moves as an alternative, leaving those 2 Megas that I said in the dust, while Necrozma has a popularity and accessibility advantage. So really, the main reason Ultra Necrozma could be overpowered in this respect is that it's much more widely available in Generation 7 than those Pokemon, and the fact that already it's the most powerful Pokemon in Alola. But back to the stats and numbers for a minute. As with all multiple forms, a Pokemon retains the same movesets throughout all of its form changes, so nothing is really exceptional here. However, it does have a Z move in the Ultra form, Light that burns the sky. 200 power, the ability to ignore abilities, and the move inheriting the attack type of whichever stat is higher, attack or special attack, to carry it all out makes this basically the most powerful Z move. Going over to typing, we have a Psychic and Dragon type, which is honestly a pretty balanced type in terms of advantages. The typing has no immunities, but the more interesting thing is that there's a 1/3 chance that any move is either normally damage dealing, not very effective, or super effective. Basically, there's 6 of each of those. So now that we have all the stats and numbers together, where does Ultra Necrozma stand? Well, I'd say it's overpowered, but only in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. It is the most powerful Pokemon of the generation, and although there are stronger Pokemon from other regions, they're being quite harder to get and take advantage fully of, really shines a spotlight on Ultra Necrozma. It has an array of powerful moves like Prismatic Laser, Photon Geyser, and of course, Light that burns the sky, and a typing that I'd say usually acts more of an asset than a liability. Overall, expect this to be considered overpowered in Generation 7, but when Generation 8 or a Diamond and Pearl remake comes, other Pokemon will probably fill this gap and put that stereotype down a bit. I'm really hoping for a buff for Arceus, to be honest. But anyway, this is only my opinion based around what I've seen. And as with all opinions, there are 2 or more sides, so what do you think? Is Necrozma overpowered, and if so, which forms and why? Please leave a comment on below. You can also subscribe to see videos like this twice a week. Regardless, collabs are coming, and I will see you in the next video.